so hopefully you are where you expected to be. We are going to be talking about Project Online and Planner and how you can use the two of them together. Specifically, we will focus on what is task management? What does it mean when we say task management? We'll look at an overview of Microsoft Project, Planner, and team productivity in Project Online. I'm going to show you how to link plans from Planner to tasks in Project Online. We'll also talk about, use cases. When should we be using Planner versus Project Online? And then at the very end, we'll have time for a Q&A. Please, as we go through the session, feel free to enter any questions you have into the Q&A area. If you'll look on your toolbar, you will see an icon for Q&A. You can enter all of your questions there. I will be answering questions at the end of the webinar today. So let me introduce myself to you quickly. My name is Cindy Moore, and I'm a senior PPM specialist with PPM Works. Basically, I've been working with Microsoft Project for, I think a little over 20 years now, and then Project Server and Project Online since it first came about. So I've got a lot of experience working with both and have really enjoyed the new apps that Microsoft has come out with, Planner being one of them. The learning objectives for this particular webinar. I would like to make sure that you're able to understand task management versus work management, that you can clearly see the difference between use cases for Project Online versus Planner. And then I also want to make sure that you can, get an idea or feel a little bit better, more confident about getting started using Planner and Project, whether you're using them separately or only using one of them, are using them both together, which brings us to the fourth objective for today, is helping you understand when it's best to use which tool. When we talk about understanding the Microsoft work management solutions, we're looking at Project Online and Planner, use cases, when to integrate, should we integrate, want to make sure that you're equipped to get started today. When you leave this session today, if you already have an account with Office 365, I want you to be able to get going right away and put into practice some of the things that you learn during this session. So take just a moment for me. I'd like to get a feel for some of the tools that you're currently using today, specifically to manage your work effort, project work, tasks, facilitate collaboration. If you want to just open the chat window and drop in some of the things that your organization is currently using there, it would be interesting to see what you have to say. I'd like to know, how do you know who is working on what? How do you know when things are due? How do you know if they can be completed on time? And do we know if people are working on the right things? Not only are they working on the right things, but are they working on the right things at the right time? These are some of the questions that we want to look at and discuss as we go through the session today. So let's talk about how we work. We have what we like to refer to as me work, me as in me, focusing on individual activities and tasks that really don't involve other people. There are things that are important to the company, but it's not a big project initiative, and there's not going to be a lot of people working together as a team on that particular initiative. We also have what we like to refer to as we work. This is when you're working with your peers. You could be working on projects. They could be planned long-term projects. It could be ad hoc projects, but you're working with other people and other groups. When you work with other people and other groups, sometimes that involves departmental resources. Department resources, structured resources, I guess, is what we're thinking of there. If you've got large groups of people that are focused on a common goal, or a common area of the department, like your technology department, your human resources department. When you are working on individual tasks and when you are working on plans, a lot of times with the plans especially, you have to get information and involve people from different departments. So we need to make sure we understand what role that plays in our choice between planner and project. And then the fourth bucket that we drop work into is what we call company connection. Just finding information, finding the content that we need. You know, in my world, an example of that would be templates for training classes. You know, I've got to deliver a new training class for a new client, and I want to find a slide deck that I've used before, or that someone has used before, because I know someone has created one similar to it. I need an easy way to find that information. And when I say easy, I don't mean asking the person, because sometimes it's difficult to track them down. Sometimes we don't know who did the work. But you can use things like SharePoint, which you may already be familiar with, to go in and quickly search and find the documents, the templates that you are looking for. All right, so when we talk about Microsoft's project and team productivity solutions, you can see in front of you this beautiful colored slide, right? And you can see where you have enterprise teams up at the top for portfolio management. When you're dealing with project management, you have formal teams. So you've got a group of people who have been assigned to work on this project. Doesn't mean they aren't working on anything else, but it does mean that they are all focused on that project for some time frame. Work management is for the ad hoc teams, and then your individuals would be where you focus for task management. The nice thing about working with these solutions is that you can access them across all of your devices. I say that's a nice thing. I don't know, is that really a good thing? Sometimes it's good to unplug, but it's also wonderful when you're out somewhere, you're on an airplane, in an airport, you're a passenger in a car and you need to access some information. It's fantastic that you're able to do that very easily from any mobile device to get in and access those solutions that you need. So today we're focusing specifically on work management versus project management. And we'll focus in on Planner and Project Online. SharePoint is also a part of work management, but that's not going to be our focus today. When to use Planner versus Project Online, you guys can get a copy of these slides if you send us an email after the session, and we'll shoot these over to you. But it gives you a good breakdown, and we're not going to go through each and every one of these line items one by one, but I want to highlight the three at the top that talk about Planner. You want to track tasks, but you're not really familiar with formal project management tools. You want to quickly enable your team to use OneNote, Outlook, SharePoint. And also, and this, it sounds kind of funny to say it, but think of it not just for yourself, but for the team of people that you're working with. People who are resistant to learning new tools would be better off starting in Planner than jumping right into something like Project Online. So we're going to talk about 4 use case scenarios today. The first 3 are the ones that we're really going to focus on and spend a lot of time on. We're going to look at a use case for Planner, one for Project Online, and then we're going to look at a use case for linking Project to Planner. And please understand that number 3, linking from Project to Planner, is different from number 4, where there is an actual integration from Project to Planner. We are going to focus on what's available out of the box, which are the first 3, and then we'll talk briefly about number 4 because we do have some solutions that will provide that integration. So let's talk about use case scenario 1. We're going to talk about Diane Prescott. Diane's a product manager for Contoso, and what she does is she specializes in cutting-edge consumer technology. That's what Contoso does. So what her role is at this time is to lead all of the planning efforts for a tech conference that's coming up. Contoso is going to be showcasing one of its newest products, so you get the idea that this is an important thing that she's working on and it really needs to go well. But she is spending a great deal of her time coordinating tasks. She's emailing people, she's calling people, she's walking up and down the hall, stopping people, in the break room, going into people's office, trying to get all of the information. If you've ever tried to get updates on anything from anyone, you probably understand how incredibly frustrating that can sometimes be just to track people down and get the information you want. Now, Contoso does have a very robust project management tool. They're using Project Online, but Project Online, that robust of a project management tool, it's a bit of an overkill for Diane. Diane's expertise is in marketing. That's what she knows, that's what she understands. And while she's heading up this event, she is not a project manager and she hasn't had a great deal of exposure to project management tools. So Planner is a better choice for Diane at this point because it'll be easier for her to use and it'll give her the tools she needs without her having to go into more complex details. So in summary, in this particular scenario, we're looking at planning efforts. We're looking at, a situation where you're coordinating tasks by email or by phone for updates. There is project management software available. We're just electing, in this case, not to use it because it's too involved for Diane. So when we talk about Planner, understand that it is a high level and a very visual way to organize teamwork as well as collaborating effectively on projects. You can create new plans, you can share files, you can chat about what you're working on, you can make comments, have little discussion boards, you can manage events, you can even brainstorm with Planner. You can keep track of your team's progress. And that, I think, is priceless, right? Because if you've experienced tracking people down and trying to get those updates, just being able to get them in a more manageable way makes it worth its weight in gold. We talk about Planner. We are going to jump in and look at Planner live here in just a couple of minutes, but I want to highlight a few things for you. So what you see in front of you now is the Planner task board. Now, as you look at the Planner task board, I want to point out a couple of things to you. Number one, we have a bucket. Everything across the top here, these columns, they're called buckets. And you can see that we're grouping by bucket right now. So you have tasks that are showing up in this bucket, tasks that are showing up in this bucket and in this bucket. You can easily move a task from one bucket to another simply by dragging and dropping, and I'll show you that as well. When you have attachments on here, and I know this one's difficult to see, but hopefully you can see the Microsoft Word logo there, little icon. When you have an attachment on a task, it can show a preview of that document in the little task board here so that you can see what's in the document and what you're going to be working on, or whether or not you even need to open it, I guess, in some cases. The interactive boards, they help to track and organize the work by moving it between columns, and also people can go in, and whoever's assigned to it can go in and open it and say that they are, they've started working on it, or they're going to finish it next Friday, or it's completed. They can add comments, they can add documents, they can add checklists, which is fantastic, and we'll talk more about that in just a bit as well. So this next screen shows you what it looks like when you open one of those tasks on the task board. So finish company picnic slideshow, that's the task that we're looking at here. And you can see the description, you can see there are 6 attachments, and you can see those attachments listed here. And then you can see there's a place for comments as well. And this is good for conversations, to get feedback even. And the example I'll show you here in just a minute for a corporate retreat plan that I put together, you'll see where being able to have those discussions is invaluable. Once you've set up Planner and you have your charts, you have your plans and you have your tasks set up, you can also, right out of the box, have access to the Planner Hub, which gives you all of these charts and graphs letting you know where you are in the progress of the various tasks that you're working on. So let's take a look. We are going to jump into Microsoft Project we're going to jump into Microsoft Planner now, and we're going to walk through creating a new plan. We're going to look at adding a bucket, creating new tasks, moving the tasks between buckets, looking at the charts and schedules, and then also I want to show you how to add favorites to your main page because that can be very helpful as well. All right, so here we are in Planner. Now you can see that I've got my plans listed here. These are my recent plans. What I'm going to do, we're going to start from the beginning and create a new plan. and I will call my new plan Planner Webcast, and we'll make it public. And I click Create Plan. So now you can see this is my task board for Planner Webcast. The name of my plan, Planner Webcast. This is my board. I don't have any tasks here yet. Notice I have a bucket called To Do. So let's create a task here, and I'm going to be very original, and I'm going to say Task A. Once I enter the name, Task A, it's going to make me log in. Give me 1 second. It should bring me right back to the page. There we go. So Planner Webcast. I'm going to open this plan. And click Add Task. Now, this is the name of the task. If I click on the task, you'll see that same box that you saw in the slide. You can go in and add more information. I can change the bucket here, but we only have one bucket. We'll fix that in just a moment. I'm going to set the start date to tomorrow, and we'll say that this one is due by the end of the month. Again, I'm not feeling very creative, so we'll just go with enter description here. And then if you wanted to create a checklist for this task, you could create a checklist right here. Make sure, for task 1, we need to call vendors, give proposals, etc. So little things that you want to make sure, we don't forget to do those. We want to check them off so that we can kind of monitor the progress. But as you can see already, this is way much more detailed than you would ever want to have in a project schedule. You could add an attachment. So if I'm going to add a file attachment here, it's going to take it a minute to load. That's why it's still grayed out. And then notice I've got it checked, show on card. Now, as we begin to work on the task, you can come in and add comments. Vendor is unavailable, whatever you need to add. And when you see me click send, anyone who has been added to this plan will get an email so that everyone is updated on the progress of the task. I'm going to close this one now. And now you see how we have this is the attachment, the Microsoft Word attachment. And you can see the bullet points. That's actually just a little peek into what is included in that particular document. If I click on it again, and let's say rather than showing that demo guide, I want to show instead the description. So now I'll have my descriptions show up here. So it gives you a lot of options. Now let's create a new bucket. In fact, I'm going to jump over to a different plan where I've already created some additional buckets for you. So I have my to-do list. This plan is called Corporate Retreat. And then I have a bucket of activities called For Team Review. And then I have Add New Bucket. So here it says, please review the attachment and provide feedback on team building options. So the goal here is I'm trying to talk my boss into letting us have a corporate retreat in Hawaii. It's not going well, by the way, but I'm working on it. And so I'm looking for sites for the corporate retreat, right? And then we've got to have some team building activities. So when I click on team building activities, you can see that I have an attachment on this one as well. If I click on it, it'll open the attachment and allow me to see the information that's necessary for that particular task. And once again, I can also come in here at any time and mark it as in progress or as complete. And the little half circle there is the indicator that the task has started, but it is not yet complete. All right, so let's say that I have reviewed the sites for the corporate retreat. So let's open this task up, and let's say we have determined a central location that's going to be in Hawaii. I don't know that that's actually central, but that's the plan. We're going to, visit some sites. We're going to compare some pricing. We've done all of that. And now we need final feedback. Oops, I'm putting that in the wrong place. Final feedback on location. Now, if it's something that I am ready for my team to review, because this is the way that I set up my tasks and my plan, I can simply click on this one and drag and drop it right over here to the bucket for team review. The charts, the images that you saw of the charts and the graphs on the slide, you want to get that information within your plan, you can click on charts. And now I don't have a lot of tasks in here, so it's not incredibly exciting to look at. But you get the idea. You can see how many tasks you have left, if tasks are late, if they've completed, in progress, so on and so forth. And then you can also see the members who've been assigned to tasks. So right now, I have been assigned to 2 tasks. One of them has not started. One of them is in progress, as you can see from the legend here. Now, the last thing I will show you here, you can also get some of those charts and graphs from the Planner Hub, which is the main page. So here are all of the recent plans. If I clicked on all plans, you'd see everything that was there, but we're just going to focus on these. And what I'm going to do is click the ellipsis here, and I'm going to say add this to favorites. And when I add it to favorites, it drops a card that has that same overview for me of how many tasks there are, what's left to be done, and so on and so forth. Oops. There we go. I meant to click on the ellipsis and I clicked on the card. So again, you can see how it's laid out here. All right, that is your overview of Planner. You can create the plan. Once you've created the plan, then you can start adding tasks to the plan. When you've added tasks to the plan, you can move those tasks between buckets, if you will, these columns, and you can create those columns or buckets as needed. What we're going to do now is talk through using Project and Project Online, and we'll do a compare and contrast of what you can do in each. All right, so the second use case scenario deals with George. George is a project manager, again, for Contoso, and he is currently managing a lot of projects across the organization, and he needs visibility. He needs to be able to see what the status is of his projects. He also needs to create links from tasks within one project to tasks within another project. So he needs those cross-project dependencies. He'd like to be able to enhance the team collaboration, track issues and risks, manage documents, team calendars, and so on and so forth. Remember, we said with the use case scenario number 1 that Contoso does have the robust project management software. Now, in use case scenario 1, she wasn't ready to use that. She was the marketing person. She didn't have a lot of project management experience or exposure to those tools. George, on the other hand, has a lot of experience with it. He's familiar with Project Pro, or at least with the concept of how a scheduling tool works. He wants to make sure he can see that cross-project task view. He needs to be able to see not just how are my tasks linked to one another, but also how are people assigned to tasks. If Jimmy is on my project, I need to see every project Jimmy is working on to make sure there aren't any overlaps, because we all know that overlaps happen, right? Overallocated resources. Another thing that George is interested in is automating his status reports. Now, if you have worked for a project manager for any amount of time whatsoever and have had to provide status reports without a formal project management tool or some kind of reporting tool, then you probably know how painful that can sometimes be. When you get the information into a tool like Project Online, you're able to see everything in one central location, all projects, all resources. You can access the progress on everything, and you can easily generate automated status reports that can include things like the health of the project, the status, the progress, risks, issues, cross-project dependencies, and things of that nature. So when we talk about leveraging the out-of-the-box creation and tracking of projects in Project Online, understand that there are also approval capabilities. You can create workflows. So a new project is created, and then, or let's say a new project is proposed, information is entered into Project Online, and then when it's submitted, it gets routed to someone, perhaps a PMO or a governance committee, to determine whether or not they want to do the project. And then if they say yes, and they accept it or approve it, then it gets routed back to the project manager. You know, the project manager works through phase 1, and then at the end of phase 1, submits it, and it gets approved to move into phase 2. Those workflows can be as simple or as complex as you would like them to be. But also, understand that the options for customizing, configuring, and really detailing what you want in your projects is a lot easier. There's a lot more to choose from with Project Online, because as we've already decided, it's a much more robust project management tool. It does provide the flexible reporting. The Power BI is amazing. People love the Power BI options. You can do dashboards, you can do reports, you can also do Excel reports for people who are more comfortable or more familiar with that. You can see here there's a project overview dashboard in this particular environment, tracking of issues, and lots of team collaboration. So you see, when you're working with Project Online, every individual project has its very own project site. That project site is nothing more than a SharePoint site that is specific to that one project. And on that site, you can have all of your project-related documents. You can have a calendar, you can have discussion boards, you can track your risks, your issues. A lot of times clients will ask for the ability to track change requests in their project site, and so we go in and set that up for them as well. Just about anything you could think of that you wanted to track that you could turn into a list could be added to one of those team collaboration sites. All right, so what we'll do now is take a couple of minutes and look at Project Online. I'll do a high-level overview for you. So I'm not going to go through a ton of details in Project Online simply because we don't have enough time to go through a lot of the details, but I want to compare and contrast a little between what you're able to do in Planner and what you're able to do in Project Online so that you really get a good idea of how much more robust Project Online is. I'm saying that because there are instances where really all you need is Planner, right? And then some efforts require formal projects and project management. So I'm looking at the project center here, and what I'm able to see, all of the projects that I have permission to view, I have access to here. And if I wanted to create a new project, I can come up, and when I click on this new button, notice all of the options that I have. These are all different templates for project files, not to be confused with schedule templates. These template options here will allow me to determine which, if any, workflow I want to use. It will allow me to determine what content I'm tracking about that project. For example, if it's a marketing project, there's going to be information that I need to track and data that I need to gather that I'm not going to need for an IT project necessarily. And so you can use these different project types to kind of set the expectations and set the overall expectations, I guess, for what you need to be doing on that project. The information you need to gather is I guess what I'm trying to say there. What we want to do is, we're not going to create a new project here. We're going to go ahead and step into one that's already exists just for the sake of time and to make sure that we get through everything else that I would like to show you. We're going to look at a project called Gold Lab. So in this list of projects, there are a couple of things you're going to notice. Number one, you have Gantt bars over to the right. That just allows you to see at the project level, how are things lining up on the calendar, how are projects overlapping. In the indicator column, you have the little Gantt chart icon. That will open the project in Project Professional on your desktop. The little red box means you have issues associated, not that doesn't mean the project has issues. It means that there are issues entered for that project. They may or may not be resolved. You have risks for the project, is the yellow triangle. And then the folder indicates that there are documents associated with that particular project. So I'm going to click on the name of the project to drill down into the details. When I do that, it's going to show me information that is specific to this one project. Now you can disregard the yellow status bar at the top. It's basically just telling me that someone has submitted an update for a task on this project and it needs to be approved. We're not going to go in full with that right now. What I do want to show you though is the details of the schedule. Now if you're used to working with Microsoft Project, this is all going to look very familiar to you. You can come in here and add tasks. You can set your dependencies. You can say that task 3 has to finish, and then 5 days later, task 4 can start. You can really go into a lot of detail around the dependencies between the tasks, how long they're going to take. In addition to saying, I think this task is going to take 45 days, I could also, there's another column called work, I could say, it's going to take me 45 days, but it's really only going to be about 60 hours worth of work. It's just because we're working on so many things, it's going to be spread out across that time frame. So you have a lot of options for building that schedule. In addition to the schedule, you also have project detail pages. So the pages that you see listed over here, each of these represents a page that has information specific to the Gold Lab project. The project site is that team collaboration site that we talked about, and I'll show you that in just a moment. This horizontal line, everything above that is specific to the project you have open. So that's just a good way to kind of separate those. Let's take a look at the page called Project Status. Now on the Project Status page, these are all custom fields that were created and configured so that you can track the information that you want to track. And it's easy to go in and customize it. So you can see resource status, overall status, and although you see the words green, yellow, green here, if you'll remember when we were on that project site, you had the actual red light, green light, yellow light. So you can see those listed here. Now these are tracking the tasks, but for your status, when you're looking at that project center view, you would see it appear like this and not as, red, green, yellow. Let's go take a look at the project site. So this is hopefully giving you a good picture of how much more detail you can add and track in Project Online. And now let's go take a look at the project site. This is where the team collaboration happens. This is where your resources are logging risks and issues. They're using the discussion boards. They're uploading documents. You can have task lists here. Everything that you're looking at here, including the links on the left, are specific to this one project and project site. So let's take a look at what we're dealing with. Up here at the top, the project summary, you've got a timeline, and these are specific tasks that were added to the timeline. Newsfeed, you can go in and enter information, like a discussion board. You can respond and reply and kind of track the information. What I love about this is, especially when you're working on a long-term project and someone sends out an email and they blast the entire project team on the email, right? And then let's say there are 15 people on the project team and 10 of them reply. 5 of them are actually, it's actual information that you needed, and the other 5 are just saying thanks. That can clutter up your inbox pretty quickly. You have a news feed or a discussion board or something like that on a project site, and you've got questions. That's a great way to get the information. If you need to get information from multiple people instead of having to send an email blast out to everyone. If I come over here and click on risks, You can see that we have some risks listed here. And these are out of the box, the way the risks are created, but everything is editable here. You can create your own fields, your own columns, things of that nature. We're not going to click through all of these, but there's also, you can add picture libraries, slideshows, change control, an area for decisions like we mentioned before. So Planner is fantastic when you have smaller things that you're planning for, more individualized work, not a formalized team, things like that. When you have a formalized team, more of a long-term project that's going to require, understanding how the tasks all relate to each other with dependencies and how having resources report to their tasks and see how they're working across all the projects in the organization, that's when you're going to want to start using Project Online. Now, one last thing I'd like to show you in Project Online is how you can see the resource assignments across multiple projects. You remember that was one of the things that George indicated he needed to be able to do. He needed to see what his team was working on. So I'm just going to jump over here to the Resource Center. And I'm going to select a few resources. I'm going to try to select the right button this time, and then we'll see if that works a little bit better. All right, so let me choose a couple of resources that I know will have some information for you. Here we go. Kieran, that's who I was looking for. He's always got lots of stuff. So I've selected the resources that I want to see information on. So put your resource manager hat on. This could be your entire team of resources, or you could be the project manager, and these are all the resources working on your project. You need to be able to see what else they're working on. When I go into the resource assignments area, I can see everything that Kieran is working on. So these blue rows indicate projects. So I can see all of the projects and how they overlap, and I can see the detailed tasks as well. If I wanted to, I could even go, digging around and find the start date, how many days, what the % complete is, any information that's available on the task in Project Online, you would be able to drill down and get to that. This gives you a good tool to help you better manage your resources and help you better prevent over allocations and also resolve them when they do occur. All right, so we looked at Planner, we looked at Project Online. The next thing we're going to do is talk about working with Planner and Project Online together. So use case scenario 3, we're going to talk about my good friend Mary Smith. She wants to manage her project in Microsoft Project, and she also wants to allow for detailed work to be completed or tracked using Planner. She doesn't need the two to sync automatically. She really wants to keep them separate. But she wants to allow her team to choose the preferred tool, and her team's much more comfortable with Planner than they are with the more formal, more structured Microsoft Project. She needs to be able to track her schedule in Microsoft Project and Project Online, but she doesn't have to include all of the checklist details that some of the resources would like to have for some of those tasks. So she's going to create her schedule, she's going to create a plan in Planner, and then she's going to link a task from her schedule to a plan in Planner. Now keep in mind, it is just a link. They're not connected by task status. So if I go say that the task is completed in Planner, it's not going to mark anything complete in my schedule. It is simply a link to let me know that 1, it's linked to Plan in Planner, and 2, to allow me to quickly open that plan in Planner. Keep in mind that in order to use this feature, you do have to have Project Professional with Project Online. It's not going to work if you're using with Microsoft Project on your desktop only, Microsoft Project Standard. It's got to be Project Professional. So when you click on the icon for Planner, that was displayed in the upper right-hand area, and I'll show you on the taskbar in a few minutes. Pardon me, when you click on that, you're going to get a navigation pane that's going to open on the left called Link to Plan. And then you say link to existing planner plan, and then it's going to ask you which Office 365 group the plan is in. It's not going to allow you to link tasks, multiple tasks from one project to the same plan. So once you have the plan, once you have the plan connected, then you've got the link there, and that's the one you'll have to use for whichever task it's on. When you're just doing the link between them, unfortunately, it's not going to allow you to use the same plan from Planner with multiple tasks in the same project file. And if you try to do that, it's going to give you this message saying a link already exists between this plan and another task. So that was quick, right? Let's jump back into the demo, and this will be the last time that we go into the demo. And we're going to look at how to create a link from project to planner. So just as a quick review, we're going to work with our corporate retreat plan. All right, so we've got that one set up already. It's here. And what we're going to do is go into Microsoft Project. Now, I've already set it up for this particular project. As you can see, the little green icon that has a couple of people and a check mark on it, that lets me know that it is linked to a plan in Planner. But in order to get there, what I've got to do is make sure first that I'm on the task ribbon in Microsoft Project Professional. And then over towards the right, you'll see Planner. And when I click on Planner, there's that navigation pane that opens on the left. Now it's giving me the link to existing Planner plan. Click on that, and I'm going to start typing the name. So you start typing and it pulls it up. Corporate Retreat is the one it's going to link to. Now, that's the one that I have right there, I think. So it's going to give me, I expect it to give me the error message. There we go. So when you try to link to one that you have already linked, this is what's going to pop up. So when you see this message, don't fret. Don't think that you've lost the ability to connect Planner to project. It's just that you're already connected to that particular plan. So if you see the little icon here, if I click on this icon, it's going to open it for me. I've noticed, though, that it's a little fickle because sometimes it doesn't want to give me the actual link to it. It links it, but sometimes it takes it a little bit to refresh before it's going to give me the ability to click on it to select that link. So we're going to do it this way instead. So this time, let's link to the one we just created. Now, I do want to tell you that when you create a plan in Planner, it does take a bit of time for that plan to become available for you to do this link. I think we've had enough time, so it should be fine. We're going to try it. But if it doesn't work and you know the plan is there, just give it some time. And keep in mind that the project must be published in order for you to do that. So here you go. You can see it very quickly and easily created the link. So if I wanted now to access that, I can come over here. Now, see, it gave me the pointer finger, so I know I can click on it. And when I do that, it's automatically going to open up Planner, and it's going to open that particular plan for the webcast. Well, you saw it there just a second ago. There we go. So in summary, when you're working with Microsoft Project and Planner, you're going to use that link task icon. And if you know, now that I'm trying to click on it, there we go, it's giving it to me now. Sometimes when you go and click on it, it doesn't give you that, the ability to click on it. If you click on Planner up here in the link, you also have the link right here. Now, what I'm going to suggest is that you keep in mind that integrating or, you know, linking Planner and Project is relatively new still, and I expect to see a lot of improvements and a lot of enhanced features coming with that link between Planner and Microsoft Project. So be patient because it is still a new feature, but it's a fantastic idea. And it's a great way to allow your teams to have more detailed information, more of checklists to go through for their tasks, while still giving you the opportunity to manage the work for the project at a higher level. We have one more section to discuss, and then we will wrap up. Use case scenario 4, we've got Diane and George. Again, they're both working for Contoso, and Diane is the product manager, George is the project manager. And they're going to have to work together, but they want the flexibility to choose how they're going to manage their projects and their tasks. They want to be able to associate files with individual tasks, and they want a central repository for all of the project and task-related documents. And their project managers are going to want to see reports for all of their projects. And, you know, not only detailed project status reports, but also high-level overall project status reports. So in summary, this is where you need tool integration because it's going to allow you to use both Planner and Project Online. When you work with linking Planner and Project as we just did, all it does is establish that link so that you can quickly click on it and then go take a look at the task board and see, you know, how things are going with the work as it relates to that particular task. When you have integration, it allows for tasks to be updated in Planner, and that information is pushed into Microsoft Project and updates tasks, and tasks are updated in Project, and that information is automatically going to be pushed out into Planner. Basically, it gives you the best of both worlds. You've got the bi-directional sync to and from Project Online. So what happens when you actually do the sync? When you choose to sync, it will create a new plan in Planner for you. So you started in Project, and then you sync, and it creates the new plan. And when that plan is created, it's going to email the group. So everyone who's a member of that group will get an email letting them know that the plan has been created. It'll automatically establish the link between Project and Planner. And then, as I said before, it does allow for progress from either tool. We have some solutions to help with the integration. We have partners who have solutions to help with this integration as well. And if that is something that you would like to know more about, if it's something you think your organization would benefit from, please feel free to send us an email at info@ppmworks.com, and we can set up a more detailed demo for you with that. All right, we are a registered education provider with PMI, so you can get PDUs for this webinar. Again, just email info@ppmworks.com and you'll get the information you need to claim those PDUs. If you have any other questions or comments, feedback about the session today, please feel free to reach out. We've got a blog. If you go to www.ppmworks.com, we have a fantastic blog that offers tips and tricks on many of Microsoft's applications. Primarily, you'll find them on Project, Project Online, and Planner and SharePoint. The feature comparison, I left this in the slide deck, so if you send us a note, we'll send you the slide deck, and it just gives you more details about what you can do in Planner versus what you can do in Microsoft Project.